was that there was this surgeon, heart surgeon, that had this big bike, a Triumph, and brought it over to the mechanic. Mechanic knew him. They had done these several times in the past. He needed some fine-tuning in the carburetor. The mechanic had a question for him and asked permission. He said, "Doctor, can I ask you a question? Tell me something. How come you and I do pretty much just about the same thing? You open up the chest, go and fine-tune the heart, put a pacemaker in, do something like that, then close off the chest, and out goes the patient, all ready to go for the next 20 years. And you bring in your Triumph here. I get the carburetor out, take it apart, clean it, put it back together, put it back in the engine, and I fine-tune it, and out you go for the next 20,000 miles. Yet, you make $2.5 million a year, and I barely make about 30 grand. Why? Why? And then the doctor said, try it with the engine running. This gospel today reminds me of our mother, Mary Most Holy. And I can only imagine what went through the mind of Michelangelo when he was commissioned to do this, and out of a piece of marble, he gave life to this magnificent sacred art, where we see our mother in sorrow, in grief, holding the body of her only son. And she was a widow. Can you imagine her grief, her pain, at the heart of her, of having to go through that and watching her own son go through the crucifixion? And the same thing happens, in a way, to the widow of Naim, where we see her, when we see Christ coming in with a large crowd into the city, and at the same time the widow with a large crowd going out to bury her only son. Kind of a parallel here, because there was a large crowd watching the son die on the cross. And Jesus is filled with pity, with mercy, with compassion, and is moved to restore the life of the son, who is, by the way, in biblical times, the one that provided the sustenance for his mother. And now the widow, left without that sustenance, without that support, is condemned to beg for her life. Can you imagine that? And that is why we see in Mary Most Holy, our mother, the same picture. Yet, Jesus restores the life of the son, and at the same time, the Father gives the life of the Son back to Jesus Christ, so that we were left orphaned by the sin of Adam and Eve. Now we can be restored to life as well and have access to life eternal. Well, that brings me to something then. Jesus does have a favorite prophet, and that favorite prophet is Isaiah. Whatever he does, he always harks back to Isaiah. And in Isaiah, we read something important to us, because this is our mission statement. Learn to do good, make justice your aim, redress the wronged, hear the orphan's plea, defend the widow. That's what it's all about for us as Christians. Jesus, every time through the gospel, he's doing exactly that. He is redressing the wrong. He is listening to the orphan's plea. He is defending widows. So, in a way, that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And we see today, not biblical times, but today, post-modern times, and we look at Francis, our Pope, who took his name from Francis of Assisi. And you remember that Francis of Assisi hugged, embraced the leper, had pity on that leper, loved that leper, cared for that leper. And we see Francis doing likewise in that now very famous picture where he embraces the severely deformed human being, a man that suffers from that kind of illness, and teaches us a lesson. That's exactly where we should be, redressing the wrong, listening to the orphan's plea, defending the widow. Well, the other day during graduation, I was listening to Father Brandon's homily, and he made a point, a good point to our graduates. The 8th graders are going over to high school. And he pointed out something very important. For me, the greatest president of the United States, Abe Lincoln. And if you read the Gettysburg Address, it's only 2 short paragraphs. But towards the end of the first paragraph, we read, "The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, while it can never forget what they did here." Father Brandon was using that to point out to our 8th graders to be doers, not to be wannabes. To be doers, not to be wannabes. We're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be redressing the wronged. We're supposed to be listening to the plea of the orphan, and we're supposed to defend the widow. So that gave me an intuition into something that I have been suffering for the last about 8 years. We deacons, we have to attend at least 1 retreat a year. And I remember this retreat master was a brother, a De La Salle brother. And he kind of smacked me in the face. And it still stings, still smarts. Because his opening statement in that retreat was, "You are what you do." You are what you do. You may talk a good game, Rigo, but look at what you do on a daily basis. Do you pray on a daily basis? Do you attend daily mass? Are you redressing the wronged? Do you actively listen to the orphan's plea? Do you defend the widow, Rigo? Now I give that to you. Remember, you are what you do. So, I kind of did a little, check out. And I have to tell you something, Holy Spirit. I have been observing you. I'm watching you. Just the same as you watch me. I know that. So it's a two-way street, right? And for the last 2 years, what is it that I have observed from this faith community? You know what? You're doing very well. I remember the first January that I was here. And we were, getting people together so that we can go over to San Francisco and participate in the Walk for Life. Walk for Life. To participate in an action that has or seeks the objective of protecting the unborn, of witnessing to sin. And we're not condemning those who have to seek or have sought abortion. We're not about that. Sorry. We're not casting stones. But somebody has to redress the wronged, has to represent those who don't have any voice, the unborn. Well, I'm happy to say that there's a lot of people that went from this parish. We could get more, though. And you look at that picture. Looks like you know that gentleman. I am very joyful to walk with people like that. You know why? Because that shows me that my hierarchy is walking with me. And I applaud Father Brandon for that. To be present in the trenches, in redressing the wrong, in listening to the orphan's plea, in defending widows. Then I remember the 1st December, and I came early, like at 6 and change. The Sousa was already open, and there was a lot of people in there, and I was, what is happening in this building? You know? And I saw a lot of people. And when I say a lot of people, it was full, packed. And they were working actively in wrapping gifts, you know, from the Christmas trees on December, the shared Christmas action that this parish has. And they were wrapping over 3,500 gifts. And I said, this is good. This is a very good community. But I did a little more research. I'm not convinced yet. My dad wanted me to be a lawyer. And I have news to tell you. There is about 600 people fully engaged in the life of this parish. About 600 people are fully engaged in the life of this parish. In St. Vincent de Paul, Legion of Mary, Knights of Columbus, Walk for Life, Faith Formation, and other many ministries. Come on. I mean, every weekend we have over 6,000 people in this temple. And only 600 are fully engaged? Holy Spirit, you are what you do at the end of the day. And there's nothing wrong with having been asleep up until today. However, an advertising. We're increasing the catechism, faith formation. We're looking for more children. We're looking for more adults. So that means that we're looking for more of you who can share your faith with children, with teenagers, adults of all ages. Come talk to me. That's not the objective of the homily. The objective of the homily is Walk for Life. The objective of the homily is ministry that have to do with social justice, as well as ministry that has to do with liturgy. Liturgy has to be consonant with what we do out there. Remember, after all, you are what you do. Can I ask you to stand, and we're going to sing a little song? See if the choir can help us out. I'm not a singer, otherwise you would have never met me. I would be in a bar singing stuff. I want to hear you.
Go be mercy to God's people, in forgiveness freely shown. Find a stranger, call her kindred, find the exile, call him home. Age to age, God's mercy welcomes, with a love that will not cease. Go be Christ-like to God's people, be an instrument of peace.
Holy Spirit, be Spirit-filled, make disciples, be a saint. What else is there?